What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am going to be working tonight on some last minute adjustments and changes on the DriftV just to prepare it for the drift event we're going to on February 1st at Leadfoot City. We are going to be running the 2005 Cadillac CTS-V drift car, and we are going to be just, doing that first event of the season. But I got a lot of things I got to try and wrap up between now and then. That way this thing is ready to go. And because right after that we have, after February, we have two back-to-back Fuel Fests in Florida. And then April we have Fuel Fest, and we just got a lot of events coming up. So I got to make sure we are making the most of the off season and this thing is in good shape. Now, I will start by saying, the last time I put this thing back together, I was messing with rack stops and basically adding rack stops until the angle block didn't touch the lower control arm. We are working on a replacement adjustable lower control arm that is on the project board, but in the meantime, we got to run the stock lowers. So I'm trying to come up with a solution there, and I ended up leaving too many rack stops on the car. So I got to disassemble that, and then I need to pull those rack stops off. We're going to clearance the lower control arm a little bit, show you guys that process, and then put this thing back together one last time. Make sure the toe is good, matches the other side, and then we will be good to move on to the next part of the project, which we are gonna have a bodywork video coming very soon because I'm running out of time. Probably this weekend I'm gonna record it. I got a lot of wrapping, painting, and sanding and things like that I gotta get done. So that'll be coming soon, but let's dive into this. We're gonna pull the front wheel off, and we gotta do a little clearancing on this front lower control arm. So with the angle kit here, we have, you could see there's some contact marks on the angle block here. And it basically makes contact with the lower control arm in this region here. Now we include this low profile sway bar end link because otherwise your sway bar end link would kind of be the point where the block hits. So the idea is that you want to clearance this area of your LCA with a grinder, and then depending on how much you clearance it, that's going to buy you more and more angle, and then you can use the rack stops, which are stacked up in here on the steering rack, to create a stopping point. So it takes some trial and error, I guess you could say, and some adjustments and checking, and it takes a lot of setup, but those rack stops will take a lot of stress off of the tie rod and other components, and also prevent you from marring up your angle block. Now, when we have a tubular, or not tubular, when we have an adjustable lower arm, we're gonna try and keep this area as high clearance as possible so that we don't run into that issue. And then our stops will still be however many rack stops we need to create that stopping point, going lock to lock. So I'm going to disconnect I gotta get some adjustables, but I'm gonna disconnect our tie rod here. And then we're just gonna take that off of the inner, because I gotta pop the inner off. And then from there, we will start trying to figure out where to clearance and where exactly we're hitting. All right, and then I've decided to take off the nut here that holds our Heim joint in place. And we're just gonna unscrew the Heim joint from the adapter here. That way, we're just gonna do a full disassembly on the tie rod end of things. Check up on how things are doing. These are the updated spacers that we now use, which do work much better. They were a great fix for it, so these worked out. But then we're just gonna unscrew this guy here. Heim joints are still in good shape. This is after quite a few events too, which is always nice. All right, get that out. And then this guy we'll just keep over here out of the way. Now, you'll Let me move you in here. You'll be able to see once we get to a certain point, that is where we hit. And that is what we don't want, because we want as much angle as we can get. So we're gonna hit this area with a grinder. Easy as that. So that's the spot. So we're gonna head to get a grinding wheel out, and we're just gonna start working down on that area there, because we wanna try and get as much movement. And this is the damage that it has done over the course of like a lot of events, running these blocks through trial and error. But these blocks are durable, I'll give them that. But this will hopefully remedy that, and then we could take off a good bit of our rack stops. But I want to see one thing, and that is just that if I jack the suspension up. One thing I'll mention too is that as I jack the car up more, the point in which, I don't know if I'll be able to get the camera in there, but the point in which it is making contact is actually moving up. So I think that's why when I initially did it with the rack stops, I put too many on, because I was taking the measurement with the suspension at full droop. So ideally, what you will want to do is do your clearancing, put your and jack your, like, load up your suspension to jack your suspension up, and that'll give you a better idea as to where it's hitting. Because now it's, so like before it was kind of just grazing this area here, whereas like now I'm getting hits all the way up here when I have the suspension much more compressed. So I'm just gonna probably come all the way back to like here, and we're really just gonna try and flatten this down, take a good chunk out of it. And I mean, it shouldn't cause us any harm, but it'll definitely buy some more space for our rack stops. We can pull rack stops out and have them start doing their job. So let me get the grinder set up, and we'll start getting to work. I'm gonna keep going at this, and we'll jump back in when I have a good bit shaved off. All right, so we got a pretty good area ground out here on the lower control arm, as you can see. And with some load on the suspension, we get a pretty good amount of steering angle there before it makes contact. And now ideally what we wanna do, and now there's no saying either that we can't get more. So real quick, I'm gonna grab a Sharpie. I'm gonna try and get a Sharpie and color in on the aluminum, and then I'll have it make contact, and I'll see exactly where it's hitting. We'll just do this. I feel like that's gonna be the spot. Now we will make contact. Couple times there. Yeah, I think we are hitting right there. Right here is the spot. So I'm gonna hit that one more time with the grinder. I'm just gonna shave this flat section, just keep it all flush, because there's a little bit of a lip still there. So I'll hit that with the grinder, and then we'll take the rack stops off. I think I'll call it here for now, only because this is where our shock bolts. Again, probably plenty of material there to mess with, but we'll just we'll call it while we're ahead. All right, now let me get my tie rod tool out, and we will get this tie rod pulled, and I'll show you guys the rack spacers. So I got our factory inner tie rod out here, one of the rack stops. These are 1/8 inch rack stops made out of Delrin, and we got a bunch stacked on up in there. So these were my test mules, where I didn't actually cut the slits in all of them, but then I started cutting slits in them, and suddenly they start working better. So that is something that, and also they are a tight fit. So not having those slits really makes it more difficult trying to get them off. But a little tiny screwdriver kind of pried in between them is pretty much enough. But when I put the new ones back on, I'm gonna make sure they're all ones that have the slits cut in them, because these are a snug fit. Oh, there goes another one. The nice part about these guys being Delrin though, is that a hacksaw goes right through them. Super easy. Like I said, take maybe like a 1/2 inch out of it. And that should give you enough to be able to snap it over top of the steering rack, like so. So I'm gonna knock out all these just in case I need them, and then we'll start trying to get them put on the car. Okay, so we have everything hooked back up. I just cranked the wheel to the left. And as you can see here, we have nothing. But then I'll take my little rack stop guys here. All right, clipped one on. I'm just gonna put 5 on there for right now. And I'm gonna put a piece of tape. I offset all the slots, the slits, just so that none are, like, they're not all stacked up on the same spot. For the sake of when it compresses, I don't want them to like push off or anything like that. I don't even know if that's possible, but never know. So we'll get those guys all offset of one another. And then I'm gonna put some painter's tape right here. We're gonna go full lock. And unfortunately, I don't have the suspension as compressed as it was before because of clearance issues, but I will be able to further mess with this once it's on the ground. I have the car running, and but at least for now, get somewhat of a gauge on if I'm still hitting or not. All right, I'm gonna put you down there, and I'm gonna turn the wheel. You let me know if it hits. I have a feeling it still will because it's not compressed, but we're at there we go. We got a bottom out point. And we're at a pretty good amount of angle before it stops. So I'll crank back. We'll see if it still hits. It doesn't appear, let's get some light. It doesn't appear that we really make enough contact to really crease the tape or anything like that. So let's try popping one of these guys out, which is quite easy. So you just gotta kind of like split it. Again, not the easiest one-handed. Oh, there we go. Wait, oh, no, hold on, I can do this. There we go. Pop one off. And let's try it again. Let me know if you see anything. Now, essentially, we should be getting an eighth inch more of travel, which whatever that translates into steering angle. I can see it on the wheel, for sure. Okay, stop it there. Bring her back. How do we look? Did we hit? You're gonna make me get back down there and look again. Let's see. Okay, so now we got a little contact on that last one, right about there. So not too bad. You can't see. All right, so we got a little bit of contact right there. Now that is an area that we were not making contact in when the suspension was completely jacked. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave it all as it is. That is, we got like 4, I think we've got 4 on there. So I'm gonna leave it how it sits. And once I can put the car on the ground, and I'll start it and, you know, crank from side to side. I'll probably put the camera under there and get a better look at it as far as if we're hitting the tape. So I'm going to leave this piece of tape on there. I'm going to circle those 2 spots, and then we'll go from there, adding or subtracting. But I think grinding the lower control arm as much as we did, which wasn't even a lot, really bought us some extra clearance. And ideally, in a perfect world, I want the rack to stop before we make contact. So we are taking pressure off of the steering rack and off of our components on our angle kit. So we'll mess with it a little more, but I think we're making some good leadway with that one. Overall, made some good progress. I've been really just delaying this whole project of you know, finalizing these, how many rack stops I need and grinding the control arm and things like that. And finally jumped into it, decided to tonight, mainly because I was looking at the calendar and I have this coming weekend and that's it. Then we're off to the track. The following weekend, we're going to the racetrack. So I really couldn't continue putting things off like I have been. So we made some good headway. Now I have to just repeat this entire process for the other side. And then once I finish up some other projects, then I'll take the car out probably this weekend, finalize however many rack stops I have on there on each side, and then we'll go from there. I'll keep you guys posted on what I end up doing. I'll make probably a final video before we go to Leadfoot. I know I'm gonna have a body work video, but I'll probably make one just overview video before we head to Leadfoot on February 1st. So if you're in the area, Brooksville, Florida, Leadfoot City, we're gonna go drifting. This is kind of gonna be my shakedown after just making some changes before we then start knocking out our Fuel Fest schedule with the X-Comp Tires team. That is coming. It's following me. I don't want it to follow me. I want it to show you the X-Comp Tires that are up there on this. There we go. I'm still getting used to this gimbal thing, but X-Comp Tires, we're gonna be driving with them at a couple Fuel Fests this year and possibly some other events. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Drop a comment down below. I'm trying to use this camera and make more content and really focus on uploading more consistently and making the Drift V great again. I got a lot of little odds and ends that I'll see what I can film here and there, but the biggest thing was just getting these rack spacers ironed out on the car and then grinding that lower control arm to buy yourself some more space. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram at Mike_Stansco. I post on there a ton compared to YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next video.